Hello, I'm Maura Carley, founder and president of Healthcare Navigation, and today we're going to talk about what can go wrong when you try to use the initial enrollment period to transition onto Medicare. And unfortunately, many things can go wrong, which is why we always recommend starting early. So let's recap some issues that we've discussed before, but we can't be sure everybody is watching every single video. Some people who are taking Social Security or on Social Security disability prior to age 65 are auto-enrolled by Social Security into Medicare A and B. And so they don't have to do anything unless they want to get off B. But the vast majority of people have to act to get onto Medicare A and B. And an additional distinction is that people who paid into the system long enough to earn premium-free Part A can use an online system, and people who are eligible because of their relationship, marriage, to a worker, or you're still eligible if the marriage ended, but the marriage lasted long enough, and while the marriage was in effect, the worker paid in long enough. But those people cannot use an online process for now because of the pandemic. They make a telephone appointment. Let me read my list of things that can go wrong so that I don't miss anything. First, the system doesn't recognize you. That can happen trying to create the My Social Security account, which the worker needs to do the online process. And that's why you want to start early in case you have a problem like that, because then you've got to make a telephone appointment. There's a mismatch with government info. That can derail your application as well. We had a client whose second marriage certificate had a wrong place of birth. And she never did anything about it because she never thought it could come back to haunt her. And the fix was easy. She needed to share her actual birth certificate with Social Security, but it was a little alarming when she got the notice that her application wasn't being processed. It's not common, but we've had someone who, was the worker and completed the online process and will never, ever know what really happened to her account, but it took a great deal of intervention. And when I finally spoke to the head of her local Social Security office, he started to mention that she had already been on Medicare, which of course was not true. She was just turning 65 and had never been on Medicare, so we'll never know what happened there. But somehow she was confused with someone else, and we don't know why, but it took a lot of effort to get to a person who was going to be responsive about it. Let me see. Another issue we see from time to time is, scamster involvement. The reason Social Security is so careful with your information is because there are scamsters out there trying to get a hold of your social so that they can one day get a hold of your Social Security direct deposit amount. And so we've seen instances where Social Security has not allowed someone to use the online process. They used to require people to come in when that happened, but no one's going in these days. And we don't know how long that will last. And the other issue is relating to those people who have to make an appointment. Depending on how busy Social Security is, your appointment can be very vexingly too far in the future. I mean, Social Security will still honor the effective date based on the day you made the telephone appointment, but it gets messy and people get anxious when they wanted their effective date to be the first of a given month, and they don't even have their telephone appointment for many weeks after that. And of course, another problem you can have when you're working on your Medicare enrollment and have a telephone appointment with Social Security is that they don't call, or more common, they call a number where you are not. And so there's just so many of these little things that can go wrong that require follow-up and another appointment. So again, you've just got to stay on top of everything. So what do? You start early. You start early. As we discussed before, the initial enrollment period begins 3 months before the date or the month, of your birthday. And so you want to start as early as possible if you want your Medicare to be effective on the first day that it could possibly be effective. And maybe one other thing I should mention is occasionally Social Security will request original documents. That's less likely than it used to be because the government has so much information on us, but especially if you were not born in the United States, it's far more likely that you will be asked for documents like your naturalization papers, sometimes a marriage certificate if you are claiming benefits on a spouse's record, and so on. And that's also disconcerting to people because typically one doesn't have multiple originals. But the good news is we've never known the government to lose those things that people have sent in. And during the pandemic, there's been more flexibility about accepting documents that are copies. So the bottom line is start early and leave nothing to chance. If you're dealing with Social Security today, you're not having to call the 800 number generally, and that's how it was pre-pandemic. But Social Security has published many local numbers. So if you need to get in touch with someone, you go on to Social Security, you find your local number, and you call and you persevere. And you know what? You can call Social Security and get the most helpful, kind people, but you can call Social Security and get people who are not helpful or kind. And if that happens, you simply call back. It's a bit random, but there are very knowledgeable people working for Social Security, and their job is to help you. All right. Thank you for listening. Take good care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.